Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tearing down a massive corporate myth, the bamboo ceiling. If you work in global business, you already know exactly what this is. You've heard the whispers, you've definitely felt the frustration. But what if I told you everything you thought you knew about why Japanese companies operate this way is completely wrong? We see this question literally everywhere. Why do Japanese companies flat out refuse to hire local executives for their overseas branches? The stereotype is pretty aggressive, right? Everyone just assumes it's an in-chill culture. They assume it's xenophobia. They think headquarters just doesn't like outsiders. It's a really easy narrative. And honestly, it makes perfect emotional sense. But the data tells a completely different story. So get ready for a total reality check. It is absolutely not prejudice. It's actually a cold, highly rational mathematical calculation. Headquarters isn't just guessing out there. They calculate. They run a precise, ruthless formula to decide who sits in the boss's chair. You probably thought it was bias. Well, you were wrong. It's all about one thing: control. 844. Now, this isn't just some vague theory from a business textbook. This is hard, unarguable proof. Researchers didn't just throw darts at a board. They analyzed a massive sample of 844 Japanese manufacturing affiliates operating all across Asia. That is a staggering level of statistical authority. This data maps the exact DNA of Japanese corporate hiring decisions overseas. And the results? They are completely mind-blowing. It basically comes down to a brutal, calculated trade-off: the cost of monitoring versus the cost of risk. Look, trust is incredibly expensive in global business. If you trust an unproven local manager, you risk them making decisions that seriously hurt the parent company's bottom line. So what does Tokyo do to mitigate that massive risk? They simply parachute in a Japanese boss. Sending an expat is exactly how Tokyo buys absolute operational control. And the sheer scale of that control is staggering: 70%. A full 70% of these Asian affiliates are run by Japanese expats. That completely proves this practice is deeply institutional. It's not an accident. It's definitely not just a few old-school managers making bad calls. It is a deliberate, systematic strategy deployed across hundreds of companies. Which brings us to Section 1, the calculus of control. Tokyo doesn't just flip a coin when making these choices. They look at the dashboard, and specific data points literally force their hand. Let's deconstruct the exact triggers that decide a manager's nationality. If the parent company dumps a massive amount of equity into a branch, their financial risk is huge. The result? Boom, an expat boss. If the affiliate is incredibly large, the parent company's own survival depends on it. Again, an expat boss. But if that affiliate needs to sell heavily to the local market, well, they suddenly need local survival skills. The result? They hire a local boss. Financial dependence forces headquarters to really tighten their grip on the steering wheel. As you'll see, high equity and large size shoot the statistical probability of an expat hire right through the roof. But high local sales drag that probability straight back down. It's simple. If Tokyo's money is heavily on the line, they send their own people. If they desperately need local customers to survive, they suddenly find the courage to hire locally. So the really crucial point here is that things can change. Corporate muscle memory eventually replaces the paratroopers. Once an overseas affiliate actually learns the Tokyo playbook, once they truly understand the unwritten rules and the corporate culture, the need for an expensive expat babysitter totally vanishes. The natural mechanism of knowledge transfer takes over. Over time, a very clear negative trend emerges. The longer a firm operates in a host country, the more local managers step up and replace the expats. It makes sense, right? The parent company gains experience. The local branch builds a shared frame of reference. The trust gap finally closes. And as that trust gap closes, the expats pack their bags and head home. Let's move to Section 2, the secret weapon, Keiretsu. Now, we haven't even talked about the most powerful, hidden mechanic of Japanese corporate structure yet: the vertical Keiretsu. Do not think of this as just a standard business group. No way. It is the ultimate insider alliance. It's this massive, completely closed-loop corporate family of suppliers, spin-offs, and distributors, all orbiting a giant core company like Toyota or Hitachi. And this structure? It completely manipulates the local talent pool. Here is exactly how this alliance operates when they land in a foreign country. Step 1, the core firm sets up shop.
Step 2, the related group firms quickly follow and they instantly share all their local market secrets with each other. And step 3 is the absolute magic trick. They create a shared pool of pre-trained, highly trusted local talent and they just slop them across the alliance. The takeaway here is absolutely huge. A massive local Keiretsu network means you simply do not need a watchdog sent over from Tokyo. You don't need to parachute in a Japanese boss if you can just poach a brilliant, fully pre-vetted local manager from your sister company right down the street. Being part of this exclusive family drastically reduces the need to import executives.
But wait, because here is the ultimate data twist, the Keiretsu loophole. We already established that high local sales usually force a company to hire a local CEO, right? Well, the data shows a massive exception. Keiretsu firms often only sell to their own corporate family members in that host country. They aren't actually dealing with true local customers. They are basically living in a corporate bubble. Therefore, they don't actually need local market skills. The result? They keep the Japanese expat in charge. It is a stunning realization. All right, Section 3, Fatal Flaws in Perfect Data. As brilliant as this calculus is, treating this academic study as absolute gospel today is pretty dangerous. The research has some massive blind spots. First off, the data is from 1995. In the world of global business, that is literally ancient history. Second, it is strictly limited to the electronics industry. So while the internal logic holds up beautifully, applying a 1995 electronics formula to today's hyper-fast, multi-industry reality is a fatal mistake. It completely ignores the breakneck speed of modern markets, especially in places like China, where local competitors will absolutely eat you alive if you don't move fast. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the future of global talent.
This brings our explainer to its final hard-hitting conclusion. What actually happens when the old formula stops working? Well, the Japan Bank of International Cooperation states it very clearly. Securing local managers is the most important management concern for Japanese affiliates operating in China. It is no longer a luxury, folks. It is a critical corporate emergency. The old system of paratrooping expats is way too slow, it's way too expensive, and frankly, it severely alienates the absolute best local talent. So I'll leave you with this really provocative question. The data definitely proves that hiring expats was a highly rational, mathematical choice to buy control. It wasn't just blind bias. But in today's ruthless, hyper-competitive global market, is absolute control really worth losing the top local talent? Because holding on to total control might just be the quickest path to absolute failure. Think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the consensus.